everyone. I first want to show you how to get your template ready. I've printed off the big file. I know even if you can't stitch this, if your hoop is not big enough, I want you to still do this template so you can see what the complete design would look like. So to prepare our template, you will see that there's markings in the corners. Now many of you don't know what that's used for. I'm going to start with the first two pages, so it's where it's 1, 2, and then you'll see it goes over to 2, and then there's a 4 and a 5. So this is how the pattern follows. So I'm first going to start with those two. Let's put these two separate, these 4. One of them you need to cut down. So you're going to line up where the crosshairs is there and where the crosshairs at the top. It doesn't matter which one. Any one of the two you can just trim. I'm just using my paper rotary cutter and I'm trimming that down. Now when I place this one that I've cut on top of that one, you will see that if I line up my crosshairs there and I line up my crosshairs this side, carefully line them up, and you'll see that your template is now complete. So now you can use some sticky tape and just tape that in place. Now you can put that one separate. Now we're going to do the next one. And again, I'm just going to trim this one off. And I'm placing it on top of the other one and taping it in place. Now I'm placing them separate and I'm going to work with these 3. This is the middle one and the top. And I'm going to trim off the middle. Placing it on top there. And just tape it in place. Now let's do the last one. And now we can do the center one. Now from this long one, I'm going to trim off one side again. Now at this stage, I'm just going to trim it smaller, and I'm going to trim around the design. You don't need to have to go very close. I've prepared some fabric. I've used 2 layers of cutaway for the simple reason my cutaway is very thin. This is only a 50 GSM cutaway, so I've opted to use 2 layers. My fabric as well is very thin. It's just a thin cotton that I'm using for this example. And I've cut a big enough piece so that my clock can fit easily in the middle with some space around, should I want to frame it, that you have enough fabric to pull around to the frame. And I'm just lining it up like I want it. I can have it this way, I can have it that way. It really doesn't matter at this stage, as long as it fits onto your fabric. I'm now going to line up my ruler. You will see there's a faint red line, your crosshair, that goes through. So I'm just going to line up my ruler, and then I'm just going to extend those lines for the moment. Okay, so we're extending the lines. And I'm going to do the same with the other ones, this opposite side. And now you can remove your template, and I'm just going to draw my line through. So now we know that this is the center of our clock. Now I went ahead and I printed out all my other templates. I've printed it out on transparencies just to make it easier for you guys to see exactly where the lines are that go through. But you can by all means print them on your paper. Just cut them close so that you can see how to adjust it later on. But print out all your templates that you've got, that I've included in the files for you in PDF format. And very, very important, do not fit to page. You need to print it as a 1-to-1 scale or at 100%. So just make sure that your printer is not set to fit to page. Now I'm going to use the big center, and you will see again you've got red crosshairs going through, and I'm going to line up my cross there in the middle with the cross there. I am using my magnetic hoop. It's just a metal frame with some loose magnets. And I've got crosshairs marked where my center lines is on my frame. So I'm just going to slide my frame underneath. And I'm going to line up these crosshairs with the crosshairs on my hoop. So once happy, I'm just going to place the magnet there. This one I can see is way off for some reason. The first design is also not that crucial to get exactly correct, because everything else we do will be planned around this one. And of course you can always move your machine to where the... We finished stitching the center panel now, and we're ready to start adding your designs around your clock face. Folks, if you don't want the clock face, you can still do this. Just use your template, don't stitch it in. And just place your template in the middle. Where did I put my template? You will just place your template in the middle, and then you will use this to place these perfectly. Remove your template, so that will be empty space, and then you'll start stitching this first one. So if you don't want a clock, by all means you can omit that. Very important when you start lining up your templates, these crosshairs that you see on your template, please make sure that those lines are perpendicular with the ones that you drew on your fabric. This is to prevent that your design starts to go skew. You don't need to measure it with a ruler, just eyeball it so that you can see that it more or less runs in line. So if you've got a paper template, then this is how you will do it. You see paper templates work just as well. I've just cut it out as far as possible. You can even cut it a little bit closer if you want to line it up more perfectly, and you will just place it where you think, and then you will mark your center lines there, and I'm going to mark this line here, and I'm going to mark that one there. Just make sure I've got it perfect there. And then with your lines that you drew, you can again just extend them. So for this design, that will be your new center point. So you will place this in your hoop, in your machine, and you will bring your machine to, that is your center point, and you will just start stitching from there. Sometimes I need to turn a design to make it fit in your hoop. So just make double sure that what you see on your screen and what you see on your design looks the same. If, for example, you are hooping your fabric like this, but on your machine the design is actually turned, then remember it will stitch like this. So you would need to turn your fabric as well and make sure that it aligns with what you see on your screen. As the templates print, that is how it is in your machine. So if a template prints like this, then remember this is how it will stitch. So if I put it on my fabric, I would need to turn my fabric so I've got it upright the correct way. So that is very important that you just make note of that. Little bit of focus, guys. It's really not difficult. Once you've done one or two of these placements, something will just click and you will say, aha, I know exactly what I need to do. And this is actually so easy, so straightforward. I think a lot of times we overthink something and we make it more difficult in our heads than what it actually is. But we're now ready to do the next section. We finished the first one. And again, it's the same. Use your template. I'm using a transparency this time. Line up the design where you want it to stitch. And make sure that you have your lines perpendicular like we had before on the horizontal and the vertical. Then mark your center lines from your template. It's that faint red line you see on the printed on the template. And I'm going to use my ruler just to extend those lines, so I will be able to see where my center point is. That's your center. So you can now place it in your hoop. With the press in hoops, the two sections that press into each other, just make sure that nothing shifts as you press the two hoops together, as you might need to adjust your needle slightly if you see that something went skew while you hoop it together. I'm just lining it up with the markings on my hoop, and I can now secure it in the hoop using my magnets. Now line up your machine needle with the center. You can see there where the center of the design is. I'm just making sure everything is still fine after I hooped. Once happy, you can start stitching. So folks, you can see it's actually very easy to do. You start with the center and then you work your way around, doing one design after the other. And afterwards I just added my clockwork and it's all done. I hope you found this tutorial informative and that you will be able to complete your own clock, and I can't wait to see your clock face, or even if you decide to just make the frame without a center, all good. Please, I would love to see some photos, so do send us an email with your photos attached. Thank you so much.